Hello. We're often told that success comes from hustle, persistence, and never giving up. But what if pushing harder isn't always the answer? When do we trust the timing of life instead of forcing something that isn't flowing?
Welcome to the Heart Path Podcast, your space to realign, reconnect and rise. I'm Nicola Spencer. I'm a thought leader, a coach in women's confidence, an NLP practitioner, a human design specialist, teacher and coach. And I'm here to help women in their 40s and 50s rediscover their purpose, find the joy in the chaos and rise into their next chapter with confidence and grace. Together, we'll explore stories, strategies, and soulful insights to help you embrace your true self and step into a life you love. This is where we let go of limits, redefine what's possible, and thrive in every season of life. It's your time to rise. Are you ready?
This is my moment, my heart's design. I rise and thrive, the world is mine. On the heart path, where dreams take flight, I shine my brightest, my guiding light.
Welcome back to the Heart Path, where we dive into self-discovery, alignment, and living with intention. I'm Nicola Spencer, and I'm here to guide you on a journey to reconnect with yourself, embrace your strengths, and create a life that feels truly aligned. Now, today we're talking about something so many of us struggle with, and it's knowing when to push forward with a goal and when to surrender and trust the process. In this episode, we will explore the delicate balance between chasing your dreams and trusting the path ahead of you and knowing when enough is enough, and the only thing to do is to call time on the whole idea. Now, I'm just going to warn you, this is something I'm quite passionate about, so I do have a plan for this podcast, but it might end up being a bit longer than I had intended because I probably just won't be able to stop myself and I'll probably just keep talking. But whatever comes up will be absolutely perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to start with, how I sit with this. And this is something that it definitely has been something that I've had to learn. And I don't mean like learn it as a lesson. Well, it actually is a lesson. But you can only learn this from experience and reflection and looking back at past events and really, in my personal opinion, I don't think you can learn this until you know that this exists. Okay, that might sound a bit weird, but you might be in a situation where you're continually chasing a dream, but until someone says to you, is this actually what you want, or asks you some poignant questions around that, you may not ever consider that what you are chasing is not right for you. Okay, so I hope that clarifies that. So an example for me is, with my business. This business is a few years old now, and it has been a slow process. There have been plenty of offers and events and so many things that I have crafted that have never seen the light of day. They are sitting here, drafts on my computer somewhere, and I'll work on it for a little while and then I'll never get back to it. Now, luckily for me, I knew my human design before I started my business. So, and we'll talk a bit more about that. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But I didn't go back to them because I realized that the passion just wasn't right and it didn't really feel right for me anymore. And I let the ideas go, I journal on them, I see what comes up, and then I refine them and come up with something different. So this is how my annual program, Your Best Year Yet, was born. Now, I tried this kind of program for 2 years prior. It was the same concept, but like I couldn't even tell you how different, poles apart. So the first time I came up with it, I really I had the idea, but it wasn't really properly formed. I put it out there, and it didn't land. I didn't kind of probably really feel right about it, and nobody else did either, because no one in my community actually, it didn't land for anybody either. So then I refined it, worked on it a bit more, launched it again, and it was better. I felt more aligned with it, but it still didn't really land properly. So I gave into the flow of it, and I didn't actually do anything about creating a 12-month program until I don't know, probably about September last year is when I started to think about it again. I just had, shelved it. The idea was still there, but I wasn't actively really thinking about it, working on it, doing anything on it. So I just gave into the flow of it, and I just knew that when the time was right, it would present itself again. So, which actually did happen. So around about September last year, there was something that came, and I can't even actually remember what it was. Something came up, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, now is the right time for me to be working on this. So I did work on it. I came up with an outline of the program, which was like, I can't even compare what I had before to what I have now. Poles apart. Okay, so the program was totally different. It had a different focus. It had different results. It had a different feel about it. It was just like a beautiful container of self-growth, and it really was your best year yet, because the people that are in this particular program, every month they are improving areas of their life beyond what they ever thought they were going to. So this is what happens when you do give up the flow of things. Things just fall into place, and it's a skill that you do have to learn. And like I said before, sometimes you don't even realize you're caught up in the hamster wheel of pushing until someone says something to you. So another example is, I'm a teacher, and as a classroom teacher, I was constantly feeling misaligned with the pressure to continually test kids on a daily basis. It really was dragging me down. It was dragging my love of the profession out of me. There was no joy in it. And, each day I was turning up to work dreading having to sit with these beautiful children who were struggling with their learning and test them on things that I knew weren't their best skills. And it would take a long time because they were struggling with it. And at the same time, it really hindered my ability to develop strong connections with these kids. And, they were struggling with their learning. They needed me to be their teacher, which I was. And I was giving them some great strategies for, spelling and maths and, doing all of those kinds of things. But every time I really got to spend time with them, I was testing their ability for, maths, spelling, that kind of stuff. And as a teacher, it just really took away the joy. And connection is one of my highest values. And it got to the stage after 2 years that I really knew that, I really looked forward to term 4, week 7 or 8, because that was the time that I got to connect with these kids right at the end of the year. That's pretty sad. So all the other times, I used to set up a thing where they'd come and have lunch with me and, that kind of thing, just to try and talk to them about their life. And, the classroom's a busy place. There's a lot you have to do in the day, and there's not really a lot of time for personal connections. So, at the end of the year, when all the testing was done and the fun stuff happened, that was when you got the connections, and it's too late then. So I knew that I couldn't go on this way. I knew that I wasn't really happy with things. Things had to change, and really I was forcing myself every day to go in and do that. It was totally going against my joy as a teacher. So I'd had discussions throughout the year with leadership, and they knew how I felt. And with my line leader, I'd had discussions about a role that I had done in the past, how I would love to go back to that role. But I didn't think that would really present itself because it stopped for a funding issue, and I just really didn't think that was going to happen again. But then there was a restructure, which I didn't really see coming, and it then meant that there was an opportunity for me to go back into this role, a role that I love, and it's a role where I teach the whole school. So it's very busy. How to keep yourself safe and how to keep yourself healthy. And in that particular role, I can do what I love. I love forming the connections with these kids. We develop great relationships, and they grow to trust me. And I can do things that I'm trained in and I love, like we do meditations, we do breath work, we do journaling in our lessons. And it's really amazing, and it has brought back the joy in teaching for me. Teaching's, now this is catch-22. I am building up this business because I do want to leave teaching, because my freedom value, I want to have more freedom in my life. And when you're a teacher going to school every day for 3 months, it doesn't create a lot of freedom. So my values are shifting. And even though I do love what I'm doing in the classroom at the moment, it's not really what my end goal would be. Okay, so that's like a little disclaimer. So all of this happened because I let go of the outcome. I relaxed. I didn't force it. I wasn't continually focusing on this idea. I just went with, and I just thought, okay, this is where I am now, and I just went with the flow with it. Okay, so now I know I'm not the only one who's been there. So maybe you're chasing a career change, building a business, or trying to make some big life shift, and something isn't just clicking. Now, how do you know if you're experiencing normal resistance, or if the universe is just saying to you, like, not yet, you're not ready yet? Okay, so this is where I was talking about before, where often you do kind of like just keep persisting, because this is your goal. But really, you're not going with the flow of things, and it actually might not be the right time yet. Okay, so this is where human design comes in. So human design really does help us work out when it's a good time to push and when it's a good time to surrender. Now, I do have an episode on human design, which does introduce the basic concept of human design. That's a few episodes ago, so jump back and have a listen to that one if you want to know more about that. So with the energy types in human design, there's 5 energy types, and there is definitely a way that your energy will tell you. In fact, usually it doesn't tell you. Like for me, it's screaming at me, and it's telling me when things are not right. Sometimes you can actually affect the change, sometimes you can't. Okay, so when I was in the classroom, there's not a lot I could do in that situation, which is why I surrendered to it. I couldn't leave the school. I couldn't get a different role. This was the role, and in schools, most times you're given a role for 12 months, and that is your role. You can't necessarily chop and change and go direction. You've got these beautiful little humans in front of you, and you're charged with the job of developing their education and making them lifelong learners, and for 12 months. So I just surrendered to the flow of everything that was happening in that situation. With my programs, I just surrendered to whatever would come up. Okay, so I'm a manifesting generator, and as a manifesting generator, I really need to follow what lights me up. Okay, so manifesting generators and generators have this same energy theme going, And when something is frustrating, that's when I know it's time to rethink. And it could be that you're still going on the right path, but you just need a little bit of a slightly different direction. Just need to tweak it a little bit. Or it could be that, hang on a minute, it's time to stop. Okay, so when you feel frustrated, for me, it's like an all over body ache. I really know what it feels like, and that's when I feel that, I kind of think, okay, that's it, stop. And I'll reassess what I need to do. Projectors. Okay, so projectors, they need a lot of recognition before they take action. So they need to have invitations coming their way. And if they push too hard, there's a few things that they could feel, depending on your individual chart. It could be bitterness, it could be jealousy, envy, or comparison. And if you start feeling any of that in there, just, step back and think, am I waiting for the right invitation? The one that's leading me to aligned success? Or am I really pushing this? Okay. Manifestors, they're designed to initiate something, but only when their internal urge aligns with them. And if it's not working properly, they can start to feel really angry. And the anger rises in, and it might be because whatever they're working on isn't actually truly aligned to them. It might not be their vision. Okay, it might be somebody else's vision, and they're designed to really go down the path of their own visions. Now, reflectors, these are the most rarest energy types in the world, and they need a lot of time to make big decisions. And I'm talking like a 28-day lunar cycle. And if something isn't moving, they really feel disappointed. Okay, so maybe they're trying to rush the process by not waiting their 28 days to feel into all of the emotions of the cycle. And maybe the disappointment's coming up because they haven't waited long enough. So that's how your human design energy type might work with you. Okay, and this is like a true sign. I don't know how many times I have tested this in the 4 years or so that I've been doing human design. This is how I know exactly how frustration manifests itself in me. It is such a strong feeling. It's actually uncomfortable, and I really need to go out and move some energy when it comes up, because it is really intense for me. I can feel it very intensely. Okay, so if you are resisting your human design, and well, not even if you're, I guess you could say it like that, but if you're facing any resistance, there's a few things to remember. It could be that it's not the right time. Okay, so with an example with my Your Best Year Yet program, third time lucky for me, and it just obviously wasn't the right time I didn't really have enough knowledge or the skills in that, and maybe it's not the right path. So I still felt as if it was the right path for me. I still felt as if this was a program that I wanted to deliver to my community, because I knew how powerful it was and how life-changing it could be. I just didn't have the right nuts and bolts in there to get it right. But at the same time, it could also be because you're pushing against the natural energy flow. So I don't believe with my two first attempts at my program that I was going against my natural energy flow, because it still was lighting me up. It still was something that I really wanted to do, but like the things in it, all of the workings of it, probably just they probably weren't quite aligned to exactly what my future vision was. It took a while to get that, so this is a 12-month program, so it took me 3 attempts to get something that I'm really happy with. Now that's a 3-year process, because it was an annual program. But if it was just a monthly program, that would be a 3-month program process. Okay, so if you're facing this resistance, maybe it's not the right time, maybe it's not the right path for you, and maybe you are pushing too hard and trying to make it happen instead of just letting it happen. Okay, so these are the things to consider. All right, so how do you know when you're in flow and you're pushing too hard? Okay, so when you're in flow, things seem to come together really easily. And this doesn't mean that it's effortless, but it feels aligned. Your body is kind of like in tune. You feel very happy, and you just feel as if everything's going really good. And it does feel like there's a sense of ease about things. Okay, and it could be that at the same time as you going through this process, that things will start dropping in because you've set this out to the universe, and this is what comes with ease. Someone might ring you with an offer and you'll be, oh my God, that's great timing. It's because you've allowed it to come with ease. Maybe there's something you watch on TV or a podcast you're listening to that gives you another opening. Okay, so this is how things all come together with ease, and you feel energized and excited about the process. Okay, so these are the 4 things. Things come together with ease. Okay, number 2, you feel energized and excited about the process. So you're not, you're not second guessing yourself. The energy comes forward in you. Everybody can see the energy in you, and they can tell that you're excited about this process. And when you're excited about it, you attract more things into your reality. Number 3 is you're attracting opportunities without forcing them. Okay, so it's exactly what I was saying. The opportunities will come in signs, things that, like that you won't be looking for them. They will just present themselves randomly, and you'll think like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a great resource. I need that right now. And your intuition feels clear. Okay, so this is number 4. Your intuition feels clear, and decisions feel right in your body. And especially if you are using your human design experiment and you know what your not self theme is, this is the theme that brings you about that negative feeling. You won't feel that because everything will feel clear and you will feel successful. Okay, or whatever your human design, you'll get to also know what your human design success feels like as well. Now, if you are forcing it too hard, okay, there's some really clear signs here. Maybe you're exhausted, frustrated, or you're feeling stuck, and it's like pushing a boulder uphill. You're trying to do it, and you're just exhausted with all of the effort. And no matter how much effort you put in, everything just keeps falling apart. Nothing's going right. Roadblocks will just suddenly appear that you have to try and get over all of the time, and it just feels as if it's too hard. And then you start making decisions out of fear and scarcity. So you stop losing that sense of trust, and you really are focusing on, like, I guess you can say it's like you are really becoming reactive rather than responsive. So when you're making a reactive decision to try and force it to happen rather than a responsive decision, which means that you are looking for anything that's going to open up new possibilities for you. Okay, and it does feel like a constant uphill battle. There's no reward, no one's winning, no one's getting any value out of what you're doing, and you are just chasing around on the hamster wheel, around and around and around, you're going nowhere. Okay, so you're really spinning your wheels. Okay, so now how do we know if resistance means a not yet or a not ever? Okay, so sometimes you've got a really great idea, but this is just not the right time for it. Okay, and this is what really came up with me with Your Best Year Yet program. In fact, Your Best Year Yet program was originally called Live a Fulfilling Life. which now when I think about that, that doesn't actually really incite, it doesn't like get me filled with joy. So, I'm glad I came up with a different name. So the not yet resistance, so this is when you surrender it and you wait. You still feel excited about it, but things just aren't quite lining up, and you can feel as if, this is something you still want to do, but you can really feel that hamper wheel starting to build up. And, if you're going around and around and around in circles, you're not going to get anywhere, because the path to success is forward. It's not around in a circle. So it still excites you, but, not quite lining up yet. So this is a good time to park it. Okay, so just surrender it, park it. The timing might not be right, and other pieces need to fall into place, which is exactly what what happened with me. And the obstacles you're hitting, which are stopping you, these little roadblocks, they feel like lessons. Okay, so they feel like lessons. So this is a good way that you know that this is still okay, but just not right yet. So an obstacle comes up and you know that you can get over it. It's not really that hard to get over it, but you need to learn something to get over it. So these are little lessons that come up, okay, for you. Now, if it's a not ever, time to let it go. So this is when it starts to feel like an obligation, okay, not a passion. And your ego definitely can get involved here. So if you've set yourself a goal to, write a book, and that was the first thing that came in my mind. If you set yourself a goal to write a book and you have, you're on the path to that, you are writing away, and then every day when you come into to write your book, it just feels like you're obligating. You've told everyone you're going to do this, so now you have to actually do it. But you just keep going because the passion has lost now. Maybe the passion in the topic is lost. Maybe the research you did is outdated. Whatever the type of book it could be. You're not passionate about it anymore, but you still keep going because you feel as if you're obligated to do it because you told people that you would do it. Okay, so it's not really, and your ego is kind of like at this stage will be like, come on, we've got to do it, type of thing, because the ego doesn't like to change. So you're feeling drained, you're uninspired, and you're constantly questioning why you're doing this. And you keep getting signs that something else is meant for you. Okay, so, and in the instance that I used of writing a book, maybe you've started to write a book on a topic and you've realised that there's a better topic out there and you don't want to finish this book anymore and you want to go for something else. Watch the signs. Look for the signs. Okay, and if there are, let it go. Okay, so my first, what did I say it was called? I can't even remember what it was called. Live a fulfilling life. I let that go. I let that go totally. Then I rewrote it again. I can't remember what the middle one was called. It was called something different, I think. And then I've let that go, rewrote Your Best Year Yet. Okay, so it's really important to know when the time is to go. Now, I have a little bit of a journal prompt to help you on this path. It is hard sometimes to know whether this is a not yet or a not ever. Okay, so the journal prompt is something that you can use to sit down and journal, think it out, write it out. And the question I'm going to ask you is, if I completely let go of this goal for a moment, how does my body feel? Okay, so I'll repeat that. If I completely let go of this goal for a moment, how does my body feel? I'll just let that land for a minute because it is a very powerful question, and these are the kinds of questions that I was talking about at the beginning. when you're forcing something, you may not even know that you're forcing it until someone says something or asks you a question that gets you thinking, and you realize where you're up to. Okay, what you've been doing isn't aligned. So now if you feel relief from that question, so if you ask yourself that question and the answer is like it'll be a relief to let it go, well then, there's your answer. Move on. That's your sign. Move on. But if it feels like, like a sadness, and, you'd be losing hope or something like that, then maybe it's just not right now. Maybe you just need to park it and come back to it at a time. And you may never come back to it. Maybe you never come back to it. But it's there. It's a work in progress, and, you haven't scrapped it completely. And your unconscious mind will remember that you haven't scrapped it completely, and something will come in at some stage, and there'll be a sign, and you'll think, oh yes, that's right, I was working on that. This is the time to do it now. Okay, so I've got a final thought for you. And sometimes when you chase a dream means taking a step back and trusting the path instead. And the key is knowing when to push and when to surrender. Now, if you're feeling stuck, I encourage you to tune into your own energy, because your body always knows what's right for you. Okay, so how you can do that is by journaling. Get to know your human design, how your energy works, what your not self-feeling is, and recognizing that you are actually on a hamster wheel going around and around rather than on a path going forward. It's not easy to recognize, but once you have the tools to recognize it, then you'll think to yourself, how did I not realize this before? Now, if you want to understand your unique energy and your unique flow, I'd encourage you to book a human design reading with me, and we can explore how you're designed to make these decisions with ease. Okay, and this starts with just like a little chat. You can book a Thrive call with me, and we'll uncover the next best step together. So if you're feeling at a crossroads, maybe through this podcast you've realized that maybe you are on the hamster wheel and you want to get off. This is a great opportunity to book a chat. This is free, goes for about 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and we have a little bit of a chat on how you can move forward, how I can help you with that. Okay, now this is an affirmation for this podcast, and it's so perfect for what we have just talked about. I trust the timing of my life. What's meant for me will never miss me. Okay, now I hope this episode has given you some insight into when to chase and when to let go. Either way, it needs to be in the flow of life and not forced. If you found this helpful, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a review. It helps more people find this podcast and start living in alignment with who they truly are. Bye for now. Follow your heart, trust the path, and remember, the magic is in the moments in between. Bye.